Good morning, Wilmington. What's going on? I'm your main man, Big Ivan, talking to town, Mr. DETV. And you know, I'm always bringing you some wonderful information that you can use or you can share because it's all about informing the community and making the world a better place. Today, I have the opportunity to speak to Phil Rutherford, an amazing man, the CEO of Black Faces, Black Voices, who I met during the Opium Symposium here in Wilmington, Delaware. Phil, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. CEO, Black Faces, Black Voices. Can you tell us what that is?
Sure. Black Faces, Black Voices is a collective of recovery professionals, Black recovery professionals from around the country. We are everything from psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, lawyers, recovery professionals, people that work in community. And our mission is unapologetically trying to get resources into Black communities to help with substance use disorder.
Now, you're in Delaware today, actually right now, and you have an outreach program going on. Can you talk about a little bit about that? A training, excuse me.
Absolutely. And today, what we're doing is something called a unity dinner. And what we found kind of around the country is there are all kinds of efforts going on around this nation to help reduce the amount of overdose death associated with opioids. Unfortunately, in Black communities, those efforts are not always getting they're not getting the results that we'd like to see. So unity dinners are places where we bring people together from the faith community, from the substance use treatment, people just working in the community, period. And we try and sit down and have dinner. I mean, that's kind of what we do. When I was growing up, Sunday dinner was that's where you where you straighten stuff out.
Right.
So we sit down and we have dinner and we talk about how to get some of these things that are working in other communities. How do we get them into Black communities? How do we get better training for something as simple as naloxone? Naloxone is an overdose reversal agent. If someone is dying of an opioid overdose, a shot and there's an inhaled version of it, you can give them that and it'll bring them back to life, literally. And making sure that everybody has access to this, and making sure that people know all of the things that they need to know about substance use disorder, because in unfortunately in the country the overdose number for Black communities is going up while the overall overdose number is going down.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack here, right? And we could keep it 100. You know what I mean? Because Black faces, Black voices, and when it comes to certain I don't certain things, there's a lot of barriers, right?
Mhm.
And with you meeting you that night, that day at the Chase, you defy and go around you break through all the barriers. Why is this so important to you personally?
Well, it's important to me personally. So I'm a person in recovery. So this is definitely a passion project for me. But it's important to me personally because I was able to find recovery as a result of being exposed to some tools that worked. I think that that should be available to anyone. People get to choose however they want to live their life. So I'm not one of those people that says you should be doing this or you should be doing that. That's not who I am. But I do know that access to quality treatment, access to recovery tools, that made a difference in my life. It changed the trajectory of my life. It changed the trajectory of my family's life. I have three beautiful daughters and a wife that all of them will tell you that recovery changed everything for us. I want that to be available to everybody. And unfortunately, just because of some structural stuff, some stuff we have going on inside the Black community, we really need to get that stuff. We really need to get those tools and make sure that they're available to everybody.
No, and first of all, let me say congratulations on recovery. You're looking fabulous, and you're doing what God sent you to do. So definitely want to say
Yes.
congratulations to you with that, my sir. Um, these dinners really work? And give me an example of how these dinners change someone's lives.
So I what they do is they begin a conversation, because I think one of the for a lot of reasons, right? mass incarceration, over policing. There are a whole bunch of reasons that people don't openly talk about substance use disorder or opioid use disorder, or and I'll give plain language: addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism. There's some reasons that in the Black community we don't talk about that stuff in the same open way. Like, if you think in a very simple way, if you think about all of these overdose vigils, like if you picture
Mhm.
any overdose vigil you've ever seen, um, there's a lot of pictures of faces up there. Frequently, those aren't faces that look like mine.
Right.
But yet we know the data tells us that the people that are dying at a greater rate are people that look like me. And one
Right.
of the reasons that that isn't the case is we don't really have a good language. We don't really talk about that. We don't say so and so's kid is struggling with addiction and we need to get them some treatment. We say, they got that, they're doing that thing, right?
Hmm.
So the way that unity dinners work is that we try and normalize the dialogue about substance use disorder, and we try and get people talking about it and see what every community needs, because not every community is the same. So what might be needed in Wilmington might be a little different than what's needed in Detroit, and we do these all over the country. And the way that actual change happens is people start talking about it, and the goal of a unity dinner is simply to have another. So what has happened in other cities is we start one, and I look up 6 months later, they're still talking. There are naloxone trainings happening. There are outreaches in the community happening as a result of the conversations we started.
Oh man, and that's amazing. I wish that their emphasis on unity dinner, that they would have been around a long time ago, right? But they're here. They're here now. And
Yep.
are the population that you're speaking to, how are they accepting the message?
As I think it's each according to his gifts, right? I
Mhm.
think that in everyone wants to help, and that's another kind of just sort of general misconception, is that there's a thought that there are people around. Everybody wants to help, and people want to live a happy, productive life. So the response is usually positive when someone is ready for change, and that's another thing that's a challenge that we face, not just in Black communities but in America. Period. Is when someone needs help, they need help right then. Unfortunately, what happens a lot of time in our treatment systems is someone needs help and they say, "Hey, I want help," and we say, "Great, come back in 3 weeks." Well, that's a long time, right? And
Yeah.
I can remember, again, from my own personal recovery experience, 3 weeks later, I have a very different mindset than I did on the day that I wanted help. We so we really need to make sure to get people have access to tools
Mhm.
when they need it, right? And we call that convenience care, right? Like, so just
Right.
like, and what I'm pushing toward is, if you hurt yourself in such a way that maybe you don't need to go to the hospital, but you need some medical attention, you go to urgent care. I'd really like to see that structure in place for people with substance use disorder. That you decide on whatever day it is, Sunday morning, you wake up, it's time for change. Boom, you go talk to somebody and you get some help that day.
Right. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Um, Other activities that's going on within Black Faces, Black Voices. Can you talk a little bit about those activities that you might, or trainings that you might have?
Sure, sure. We just completed a research project across 5 states that examined the role of recovery supports in the criminal legal system, for specifically for Black women. And that's another thing that we do. Is there's all kinds of research out there on what's wrong with the Black community, right? And it's one of my pet peeves. Like, I don't, we don't, I don't know how much more we need to research the Black community in that way. I
Right.
have some other communities I want to research, but that's a separate story. This particular research is looking at what supports are available. We just published on that. So we do research. We do pop-up events, so like something like a unity dinner, but we might go into a community and meet with community leaders and see about delivering direct recovery supports, direct consultation, or things like that. We're in the process of doing a telehealth project in
Hmm.
Appalachia, which I think that's in 13 states, where we're examining the role of telehealth specifically in the Black community in Appalachia, which in a very interesting turn of events, it's actually it's pretty useful and fairly popular there because of some of the distances involved with people getting help. So research, consultation, and in general, we we just sort of broke ground on a project that I guess the best way I can describe it is something like a green book. And if you'll people that know the old South, it used to be that it wasn't quite safe to go to any hotel. So we had a thing called a green book that let people know where this is a safe place to stay, this isn't a safe place to stay. Well, it turns out in the treatment world, it's not that people are going to do you physical harm in treatment, but not every treatment center is made exactly the same, right? So some are more culturally responsive than others. We're trying to go through the country and identify places that are more culturally responsive and better fit to accept Black patients. So another thing that we're working on. And I guess I'll tell you about our moonshot. Um, and this isn't just for Black communities. This is just in general. In the early '90s, in the midst of the HIV crisis, there's a thing passed called the Ryan White Act, and the
Mhm.
Ryan White Act um, appropriated about $100 billion over 10 years for AIDS research and care. Um, I want the same thing for substance use. Now, in today's dollars, that's about 243 billion.
Mhm.
But that's my own personal moonshot. I want that kind. If we can attack a disease in the way that we attacked HIV, if we could do that in substance use disorder, I believe we can find not necessarily a cure because we haven't found a cure for HIV, but in 10 years, the way HIV looks is radically different. I would like the same for SUD.
I got it. If you have a personal message, I need you to give a personal message to someone that may be watching, right? That's looking for help, um, in recovery. What would you say?
Yep. I would say that change is possible and even probable. A lot of the sort of messaging out there is that sort of an addict, always an addict, and I don't believe that to be true. My own personal journey is proof that no matter how bad it looks, you can get well, and it just takes a little bit of effort and maybe a few resources. And so my message would be to keep fighting.
All right. Phil, thank you so much for your time. I know you're real busy today. Thanks for stopping by. And at any given time that you want to get a message out to the people
Yes,
about this, because feel free, just let me know, and you can come on anytime. It's all about helping the community and making the world a better place. Thank you for
yes, sir.
everything that you're doing. We really, really appreciate your efforts and everything you're doing, bro.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right, all right. Thank you for tuning in to DETV. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. If you have any information about Black Faces, Black Voices, make sure you check out their website below. It's all about recovery, y'all. DETV. Good morning, Wilmington.